I think when we're talking about, being available, being able to be found, what we're really saying is be in a position to respond to a call. And more than anything, it's not necessarily about, waving down someone, but it's saying should someone, knock at your door, that you are able to, respond. And from then, he now may have initiated, but then there's also on your part, you're in the position to say no or yes. So even though he started it, you ultimately can also be the one that finishes it. So I think really when we're talking about being available, being open, it's just really being open to deepening relationship. And that may start from the most, fundamental, foundation of friendship. If it's a person who you completely have no prior relationship with or anything like that. So being in a position to respond to build something a bit kind of more. So I guess that's what I'm kind of coming at when I say, be available. And that's just the beginning stages. I personally think, definitely approach it with a growth mindset. Right. See that, is there a potential or opportunity to evolve from one stage to another fruitfully and healthily? And one way you can kind of identify that is before anything happens, before you allow anyone to really knock at your door, even open the door if someone does knock, is really discover and understand your non-negotiables and your negotiables. What are your fundamental values that you cannot compromise and you're not willing to budge on? It may be your faith, for example. It may be, where you want to raise your kids. It may be where you want to live. There's certain things that we have to be prepared to stand for should someone disagree with that, come, hell or high water, because you have to stand for something. You don't want to wake up one day and think, why am I unhappy in this relationship, even though he's amazing, he treats me right, he does all the things I think he should. Somewhere, if we've compromised those non-negotiables, those things we deep down really value, it could be doing exciting things like rock climbing, jumping off, a plane and like doing exhilarating things. That might be something that's important to you. And if he's not willing to meet you halfway with that might impact you and you might suppress that. But over time, you find that you're a very unhappy person because you've compromised.
You can become very resentful as well.
And that too. And it'll pour into, the symptoms will show up in different forms in the relationship. Now, identifying those things can be quite tricky. That's why people, be in a relationship for years and unhappy, but still stay there because they can't identify where exactly they went off. But it's often in the first, in the early months, in the beginning, where certain things actually weren't really in place, and certain conversations that really should have happened did not happen. So I think for me, being available, and in terms of what my things I want kind of ticked off on my list of things that I feel like are important, I always just break it down to, negotiables and non-negotiables, because at the end of the day, you're not expecting perfection and you won't get that. So come to a place where you can have what you really need, build on what, you'd like to have, and go from a place of growth. And I think that definitely in a day and age where we've been told, do what makes you happy, why then should you respect, something like marriage? Because it's something that won't always make you happy. That's right. It. But you still may need to, obviously, if you want to see it go beyond, 1 year, you're going to need to stay even when it doesn't make you happy. And when we live in such a free world in terms of, I would say it's very kind of, it's freedom that ends up caging you in the end, because there are no rails for you. And just like a train without rails...
Say it again. It's freedom that ends up caging you at the end. That is some poetic stuff.
Because it's true. You know what? In the end, if we aren't like a train with some kind of direction and railing and framework and actually just setting up, parameters, we'll never reach the places we really want to reach, because those places, they have... And any destination has direction. And if you're someone who's not willing to be disciplined and submit to direction, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble, but you will have a very sour life.
That's right.
Because you decided not to take any direction from anywhere. You decided that anything and whatever pleases you was was gonna work for you, and you find that in the end, though you got to do what you felt like doing, you let your emotions, rather than be indicators, become dictators. You found yourself in a really bad place. So I think definitely there's no respect anymore for, one another, and also the institution of marriage, and that lack of reverence, that lack of honor, also is reflected in our level of commitment to evolve and grow and educate ourselves on what that truly is, on what marriage is. It's not the moment someone proposes to you, gets on a knee and puts a ring on your finger. It's not when you even get to the church and you say some vows in front of all the people that you love and care about. It's not when you go on your honeymoon either. What is marriage? And I think very few people, besides knowing it as a social and cultural norm, actually know what marriage is all about.
True.
Very few people seldom actually know where the origins of marriage really came from, and how it was really established, and the purpose in which it was to fulfill in the lives of men and women. And I think when we erase all of that history, all of that foundation, how can a building stand? Any building is only as strong as its foundation. That's why when you see these skyscrapers they're building in our cities, they'll spend 6 months just drilling into the ground, and it looks like nothing has happened. But within a month, you will see a whole tower rise, because it took 6 months to build that foundation.
That's right.
And I guess understanding and reverencing the actual institution of marriage and respecting one another is a real foundation to begin any kind of relationship, to begin any kind of conversation within that context. So
That's true. So that means it's safe to say that basing a marriage relationship only on feelings and emotions is not the right way to go.
well, feelings are great indicators, but they're terrible dictators, I tell you that. Terrible for dictating the right and wrong decisions to make at any appointed time. I can't tell you how many times I've craved and felt like eating Krispy Kreme while trying to have a clean diet. It's a great indicator. It does acknowledge that I'm craving something, but it's a terrible dictator, because I have a goal. I have a vision for my health, and I have a vision for my body. And it's not going to lead me to that place. So though it may indicate that in that moment I'm feeling a certain way, it shouldn't have the power to dictate what I then do. And that's the problem. We take all these emotions and we make them dictators to how we live our lives. And then in the end, we look back and we think, it's not what I really wanted. It wasn't. You were feeling something at a moment, and it indicated a certain thing or pressure in that moment, but it didn't indicate, that you wanted to forfeit your vision, forfeit your dream, forfeit what you really wanted deep down.